Throughout human history, we've always looked at the planet as a 510 million kilometer squared territory that had to be conquered. After a long political process, we divided up the land, the sea, and the air. These borders have divided the territory of the planet, but our governance systems cannot divide the circulation of the oceans, atmospheric circulation, or the biochemical composition of water or air. In other words, the way how matter and energy circulate around our planet. It's software. This software is what supports life on Earth, and what makes our planet so special and different from others. It has had several modes of function over the 4.5 billion years of the planet's life. But after all this time, it has found a relatively stable pattern of functioning. The last 11,700 years, called the Holocene period, which resulted in a stable climate. It was this stable pattern of functioning that allowed humanity to build and develop civilizations. And it is this pattern that still supports life, our economy, and our societies today. This software is global. It crosses all borders. You can't touch it, divide it, or appropriate. So it is not subject to any sovereignty, and is therefore not recognized by the international legal system, which consider it something external to states. It belongs to no one, where the pollution that damages the software is sent, and the economics considers negative externalities. Consider the life-supporting system of nobody's stuff, and the elements and processes that condition and determine its functioning as external to human societies have turned the atmosphere and the ocean into humanity's garbage dump. And this has led to an increase in global temperature, which in turn has altered the thermodynamics of the Earth system, which in other words means that it is shifting the stable software of the Holocene, causing what we call climate change. When this problem began to be discussed at the United Nations, the first proposal that emerged attempted to give this software a legal status. In 1988, Malta proposed that climate should belong to all humankind, a common heritage of humankind. But at the time, there was still no scientific instruments that would allow us to distinguish the software from the territory, the hardware, and to identify and quantify the processes that determine its functioning, that is, its stability or instability. And so, at the time, the alternative was to put a Band-Aid on the problem and worry about it. The decision was to consider climate change as a common concern of humankind, which translates into trying to put less garbage into the garbage dump. However, in 1992, at the Rio de Janeiro Convention, an important progress was made, and the climate system was defined as the whole of the atmosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, and lithosphere, and their interactions. This whole being the reservoir where greenhouse gases are stored, constituting a stock only. Once again, did not define who owned the system, and this reservoir continued to be treated as a nobody's dump. And Paris Agreement continued to be concerned with trying to reduce emissions, but keeping the oceans and atmosphere as a garbage dump status. And so, emissions continued to rise. And the dump is already considered off limits, because it does not belong to anyone. No rights are recognized for those who cleaned up the accumulated CO2, nor for those who guaranteed the preservation of CO2 stored in ecosystems and benefits everyone. In this logic, even when technologies are developed to remove CO2, in fact, they only serve to continue emitting it. As we already have technologies to clean up, we no longer need to reduce. We can continue to emit or even increase emissions. Therefore, no one cleans up what belongs to no one. That is why it is so important that climate systems stops being a nobody's stuff, a res nullius, and starts being seen as something that is not external to us, of which we are a part and on which we depend, and should belong to everyone, a res communis, a common heritage. Today, Earth system sciences allow us to precisely define how this precious software works, and to define its stability pattern as the safe operating space of humankind. This is a non-territorial space, a qualitative and tangible natural asset that translates and describes the software that results in a stable climate. If we use this instrument to define our favorable software and recognize it as our tangible heritage, we can build a governance system for our most precious asset, a stable climate. The distinction between tangible and intangible assets is structural in our societies. It begins with copyright law, when it separated the support of the idea from the idea itself, and recognized the idea as a new legal asset that deserves to be protected by the law. This made it possible to produce knowledge, value it, and spread it all over the planet. Without this solution, the society of knowledge we live would not be possible. Likewise, in order to recognize the true value of the vital ecosystem services that are spread all over the planet, it is necessary to legally recognize this intangible software so that these services do not disappear into a legal void and can be accounted for in this common heritage, to be valued and become visible in the economy. In space law, we already recognize the existence of intangible natural goods. So why can't we recognize the functioning of the climate system as a common heritage of humankind? This common heritage would function as a platform for internalizing the negative and positive externalities that everyone produces in the climate system software, and thus generate rights and duties. This would make it possible to create system accounts on the flows and on the benefits performed in the reservoir, to make removals in the reservoir legally visible and economically accountable, to value ecosystem services and the CO2 they store, creating a regenerative economy, in which cleaning up the atmosphere for the benefit of all is also recognized as wealth creation, and in which technologies are used for the benefit of all humanity, building justice between peoples, without calling into question the territorial sovereignty of states. Because, while software is a functional and intangible asset, sovereignty is a static and territorial institution, and they, therefore, have different functions. As in condominium, instead of being self-limiting and conflicting, they complement each other and are independent. No one would be able to fully enjoy their private fraction if the common parts and functions of the building had not been previously defined as everyone's property and responsibility. It is because these vital building systems belong to everyone that it is possible to have a common governance model that ensures the permanent maintenance of these common functions. Just like in a condominium, on planet Earth, the system is common and goes beyond all our borders. If the life support system is not functioning properly, no single state can ensure a healthy and safe life for its population, a biophysical support for its economy, or exercise full sovereign powers, because sovereignty over a territory without a system is an inhospitable desert. The Portuguese climate law of 2021 has already made progress in this process of reorganizing the functional aspect of the planet, and has established the goal of recognizing at the United Nations the stable climate as a common heritage of humankind. The discussion is open. It is better for everyone that this asset on which we all depend belongs to everyone, and can thus be managed and valued for everyone.